Hello everyone, welcome to Come Sit at My Table. We are Tom and Melissa. We really do appreciate that you're joining us for this video. Today we're going to make a snack food. A few weeks ago, Melissa and I were traveling north on I-75 and stopped at Buc-ee's. Now, if you've never been to a Buc-ee's, you've really missed an experience. A lot of people might think, well, it's just a gas station where you stop for gas. No, it's more than that. And some people might think, well, it's a convenience store place where you can get snacks as you're traveling. But it's a lot more than that. Buc-ee's is quite an experience. While we were there, I picked up a couple packs of these Nutty bites. Now let me tell you, I like a good snack food. And in my opinion, this is one of the best. It's got nuts and dried fruit and seeds, and it's all held together by a syrup. And I think they're great. I'm going to open this and show you what they look like. They really are just little bites of seeds, nuts, and berries or fruit. I know it doesn't look like much, but they really are delicious. So after I had a bag of these on our trip, I thought, surely I can make those. Now, they'll remind you a lot of something similar to a Kind bar, or what are some of those other bars, Melissa? Do you know what some of them are called?
Pecan bar is the one that's probably the most popular.
Okay. So it kind of would remind you of those, but I really would rather mine be more like the Nutty bites. So I've done some research. I've tried to find some recipes that might be similar, and this is what I've come up with. Now, I've made this a time or two, and I've kind of tweaked the amount of nuts and seeds and fruit or berries that we're putting in to our likeness. But you can use any nuts, any seeds, any fruit, dried fruit, berries, whatever you want to put in it. These are things that Melissa and I like, and it'll have the taste that we prefer. But if you like different nuts, different seeds, different fruit, feel free to put in what you like. All right, as we go through the list of ingredients, I'm going to just dump it in and get ready to stir it all together. So first, we're going to start with 2 cups of pecans. And I have just taken the pecan halves and broken them in half. So they're fairly good sized chunk pieces of pecans, but that's what you want in something like this. You want it to be bigger pieces that you can cut into little chunks. All right, 2 cups of pecans. Then we've got 3 cups of cashews, and I'm using whole cashews, but if you have cashew halves, that will work too. Just whatever you can get. So 3 cups of these. Our next ingredient is one of my very favorite seeds. These are pepitas. They're also known as pumpkin seeds. I just got these at Walmart, but you can find them a lot of places. Some places they will be called pepitas. Other places, other brands, they'll just be called pumpkin seeds. And we're going to use 1 cup of these. Those are by far my favorite seeds. I munch on those just about every night. I keep several boxes here to use. Our next one is shelled pistachios. Now, pistachios are a nut that I like. Melissa likes them too. But they're not my favorite, but they really are going to be good in these bars. So just 1 cup of pistachios. And I got those at Costco. Our next one is dry roasted almonds. And again, we're just going to use 1 cup. And I also got these at Costco. Now I'm using whole almonds, and almonds are not my favorite. In fact, they're one of my least favorite nuts. Well, peanuts are my least favorite, but almonds are not my favorite by far, but they are good in this. And I'm using whole almonds. If all you can find is slivered almonds or almond halves, you can do that too. But I like almonds in this. Our next ingredient is going to be half a cup of sunflower kernels. And I think I got these at the dollar store. That we're just going to put half a cup of sunflower seeds. These are good to snack on anytime. All right, so we got half a cup of that. Now, that's all the seeds and nuts that we're going to put in. And now we're going to put in some blueberries. These are dried blueberries. I got these at Walmart. We're using 3 of these bags. There's about half a cup per bag. Well, I thought I had this open. Sorry. I know, Melissa's shaking her head like, I can't believe you did that.
I cannot believe you did that. That's what scissors are for, babe.
Yeah, I know. But I don't have time to find the scissors. So we're just going to dump in the blueberries. And actually we're using 3 bags of those, but I had already opened 2 of the bags and I put those in this one together. So I know it looks like 2 bags, but we're actually using 3. And each of those is 3.5 ounces. So 3.5 ounce bags. About 10 ounces of dried blueberries. Now our next ingredient is Craisins. They are just dried cranberries. They add a really good flavor to this. So I'm going to put in 1 cup of Craisins. There's 1/2 and there's a whole cup. Okay. We'll just put those in. Now, that's everything that we're putting in as far as nuts, seeds, berries, fruit, whatever. And we're just going to mix that all up. It's not that important to mix it up now, but when we pour our syrup on later, you're going to want it to be even. You don't want it all to be on your cranberries or something. So just mix that up good. Now we're going to set that aside. And we're going to make the syrup that goes on it that will bind it all together. And it's just 2 ingredients. We're using 1.5 cups of honey. And we're going to use 3/4 of a cup of light Karo syrup. Now this is 0 high fructose corn syrup. So don't get all freaked out over the high fructose corn syrup. This has 0 high fructose corn syrup in it. This is light corn syrup. So we'll use 3/4 of a cup of that. Now, I know people are going to say, oh my goodness, you're using corn syrup. It's okay. We're only using 3/4 of a cup and it'll be all right. After we bring that to a boil and get it to 260 degrees, which is the hard ball stage, we will take it off the fire. We will stir in 2 teaspoons of kosher salt and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. But we're going to bring that to a hard ball stage before we add those. Now, what you're going to need is a large pan. When this boils, it will rise. If you put it in even a medium-sized saucepan, it very well may boil over. So this is a little bit of overkill. I know this is a huge pot, but I just don't want to take the chance on it boiling over and making a mess on my stove. So let's get it started. And we're going to start our honey and our corn syrup in here. I did heat the honey in the microwave for, I don't know, a minute maybe. And I did spray the inside of my measuring cup just so it would come out a little easier. It really does help if you'll spray your measuring cup.
That's a great little trick.
Yeah. By the way, you are going to need a candy thermometer that shows 260 degrees. That is the hard ball stage. So make sure you have a thermometer, and it should not be touching the bottom of your saucepan or your cooking pan, because that will throw off the temperature. So make sure that you're only down in there part way. You want to be close to the bottom so that it can measure the temperature, but you do not want it touching the bottom or it will not be accurate. Okay, in we go with our corn syrup. I'll go scrape all of that out. We want every drop of both the honey and the corn syrup in there. Now, several of the recipes that I saw used brown rice syrup. And I'm sure that works really well, but I could not find it. I looked at every one of our local stores and nobody had it. I looked at ordering it online and I could have done that, but it was really expensive. So instead, I'm going with the corn syrup. I want to get this stirred around a little bit, get that honey and corn syrup stirred together.
How long do you think it'll take to get to that temperature?
You know, I don't even know. I think probably close to 10 minutes, but I'm just not sure. And it's not even boiling yet, so it's going to take a while. And you will see, I don't know if you can notice in here, but that's not touching the bottom. The thermometer part, I'm just going to take it out so you see. The thermometer part of it, the little red bulb, is above this guard on the bottom. That can touch the bottom of the pan if it needs to, as long as this red bulb is not touching anything. But actually, it's better if you can even keep this guard back here up off the pan just a little bit. All right, so let's clip that back on. I'm sorry? Yeah, it just has a clip that goes onto the back and holds it on. Okay, so we're going to bring this to a boil. It's going to have to boil for several minutes to get it up to 260 degrees. Turn that all the way up to high. It will have to boil for several minutes, and when it gets up to 260 or close to 260, we will come back and let you see what it looks like and watch us put the salt and the vanilla in and stir that into our seed, nut, and berries fruit mixture. Then we will pat it out into our pan. Now, this is the pan that we're going to use to put it in. You'll notice I have lined it with parchment paper. It is a 12-inch by 17-inch by 1-inch deep pan, and it should fill it perfectly full. It should be exactly full when I pat it out. You might notice that the parchment paper is really wrinkled. And if you're somebody who has not watched some of my other videos, you might be thinking to yourself, I can't believe he's using used parchment paper. Well, I'm not. If you've ever tried to get parchment paper to stay down in a pan or a baking sheet, you'll know that it does not want to lay flat. The way to get it to lay flat is just to take that parchment paper and crumple it up, wad it up, as we say in Appalachia. Just wad it up into a ball. And then when you flatten it out, it will lay any way you press it in. It's easy to mold to your pan after you've crumpled it like that. So I'm not using used parchment paper, I promise. All right, Melissa, you may want to show them that our mixture has started to boil. And we're going to let it come to 260 degrees, and then we'll come back. As you can see, we are at 260 degrees, which is the hard ball stage. So I'm going to turn off the heat, remove our candy thermometer, and stir in 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of vanilla.
I did notice that you stirred it while it was boiling, but not continuously.
This will bubble.
Stirring.
No, I did not continuously stir. I just stirred it occasionally just to make sure it wasn't sticking on the bottom. All right, well, let's hope that got hot enough to turn that into hard enough that it will make this stick together. Here we go. And once you pour this on and it starts to cool down, you do have to work fast. It will. Let me scrape this out of here.
Want me to hold the other side?
No, I think I can do it.
You sure?
Yeah, I think I've got it.
Okay.
Did you forget who you're married to?
I know.
Now watch me burn myself after I've smarted off and said that.
I was just trying to help.
I know you are. I appreciate it, but I've got it. Okay. There we go. Now, let's get that stirred up and pressed into our pan before it starts to harden. Oh, this is already setting up. Ooh, look at that. That is getting hard very fast.
It smells really nice.
It does, doesn't it?
It really does.
Okay, let's get it onto our sheet and start pressing it out.
Can you hold your pan?
Sure. Now I need help, huh?
That's okay.
And you can see how this has already started to stick in here.
Might need to have sprayed the pan.
Probably should have, shouldn't
Be
I?
a good tip for others.
Yeah, if you're going to make this, spray your pan, spray your bowl, I mean. Now, this is really hot. So in order to press this out, I'm going to wet my hands. I'm going over to the sink, put my hands in cold water, and start trying to press it out. It is warm. I can tell you, it is really warm.
These are going to be a perfect treat for like hiking or
Car rides.
else.
We have a little trip planned in a few weeks. We're headed to Norfolk, Virginia to take a little cruise. And these will be wonderful to have on our trip as a snack. Now listen, you have to put some muscle into this and get these spread out. You don't want huge chunks of it. So press, press, press.
Good that we're making our own. I don't think there's a Buc-ee's between here and there.
You know what, I hadn't thought about it, but I think you're right.
I don't think there is.
Nope. We have a Buc-ee's about, what, 30 miles from us?
Maybe a little more than that.
Yeah. Near Richmond, Kentucky. And we have stopped there a couple of times. Now, I've tried to press this as flat and even as I can, making sure there's no holes. And I can't guarantee you that all this is going to stick because I'm not sure that all of that syrup got coated onto each piece. But I'm trying to.
It would be easier if you were making a smaller batch.
Maybe.
I know
Yeah.
you were making a lot because we have people going with us that we
Right.
share with, but
Yeah.
might have been easier. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I probably should have done this in 2 smaller batches. That might have stuck better too. Okay. Well, we've got it pressed into our pan. seems to be sticking pretty well. There's a piece or two here and there that seems to be loose. But for the most part, I think it's pressed in pretty well. Now, what we have to do next is let it harden. And I don't think that's going to take long.
It's well on its way, isn't it?
It's well on its way. I don't think that's going to take long. So we're going to just let it sit here. This corner seems not to have gotten much. Yum. Okay. That corner didn't get a lot of syrup in it, so it may not stick. But we're going to let this sit here and firm up. When it's cooled and we're ready to cut it, we'll come back and let you see what they look like. We'll be back as soon as this is cooled and ready. Our nut bars are cooled and hopefully ready to cut. Before we do that, I do have a couple of suggestions for you. Now that I've made these with this recipe, I would suggest first that you spray everything with nonstick spray before you begin. I would spray my cooking pan, especially spray the bowl that you're using, and spray all of your utensils. That makes it really easy to clean up. Number two, a way to get everything clean is to fill your cooking pot, whatever you boiled your syrup in, fill it with hot water and bring it to a boil. Actually, I didn't even have to bring it all the way to a boil, but it was right at the point of boiling. When that water got to that point, everything on the inside of that pan just came right off. And even what had run down the outside of the pan, dripped down from where I poured it, just wiped right off. I just stuck my utensils in that hot water, my spoon, my thermometer, the spoon rest, everything right into that hot water for just a couple of seconds, and it wiped right out. So if you will bring some water almost to a boil, that will help cleanup be very much easier to take care of.
Because it was a little overwhelming and intimidating when you first did it.
When I first started stirring, I thought, oh my gosh, this is really stuck and I may never get this clean. It didn't happen. I even took my bowl and just stuck it down in the hot water and kind of rotated it around, and it wiped right out. So use the hot water trick. Now, let's cut our bars. So we'll just pick these up, and you can see that because I used the parchment paper, they came right out of the pan. I think the way I'm going to do it is to cut it in half, and I'm going to try to do it using a bench scraper. That is tough. Woo, those are hard. That's nice. That's what you want. Okay, so I cut it in half. I think I'll take each of those halves and cut them in half again. So, right down through them. And one more time. Okay, so we've got that cut in half, and now we'll do this one in half. Even though I was a math teacher, I don't have great estimation skills. So it's hard for me to do a fourth and a fourth and a fourth and a fourth. Now, I'm going to take each of these pieces and cut them into long, narrow bars. And I hope they don't fall apart. Hope they, oh, nice. So look at that. What a nice nut bar. You can see that they are sticking together pretty well. And now, the real test. Let's take a bite. Can you hear the crunch? That is wonderful. It's a little bit salty, a little bit sweet, but it's not overly sweet. It's crunchy. I taste the blueberries and the craisins. Those are coming through really well, which is what we wanted. We talked before we started mixing it that we wanted to taste those craisins and those blueberries. That is really nice. I would also suggest that when you store these, that you put some, if you put them like in a Rubbermaid or a Tupperware box, that you put a piece of parchment paper between each layer so they don't stick together. They are not real sticky, but I'm sure if you stack them up, they might stick together. So just put some parchment paper between them and they shouldn't stick. All right, that's a really nice nut bar. That's really pretty close to Buc-ee's Nutty Bites. Really good. All right, thank you for watching our video. If you would, we'd appreciate you going right below the video and giving us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, go down below the video and click the subscribe button and the little notification bell there beside of it. And we really would appreciate you hitting the share button and sharing our video to your own social media so that your friends and family will see it too. Remember that right under the video, you'll see a description box. It has the title of the video. If you'll click in that box, it will expand. And Melissa always puts the written recipe for each one of our recipes in there. Each video's recipe is written out for you so you don't have to write it down as we go. And we thank you for the kind comments. Melissa spends hours and hours going through and reading your comments and trying to respond to them. She reads a lot of them to me, and we really do appreciate it. It means a lot to us when we get a really kind comment and people tell us that they're enjoying our channel. All right, thanks again. And remember, you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Have a great day.